Hi, it's Kathy from Bishopstone Yarns. I'd like to welcome you all here to my podcast. And as I was saying, I'm Kathy, and this is the Bishopstone Yarns podcast. For those returning viewers, hi, it's great to see you here again, and it's great to share my little bit of my crafting time with you. And if you're a new viewer, welcome. It's great to see you here. This podcast is mainly a knitting podcast with a bit of spinning and a bit of sewing and a bit of cross stitch and a little bit of any other kind of craft that I might kind of throw in from time to time that I might be doing. So I'm coming to you from a little island at the south of Australia called Tasmania, and I am currently sitting in the corner of my studio. So I'd like to welcome everyone here. This episode, so like I usually do a knitting episode, and then the other week I do more of a spinning episode. This is a spinning episode, like I sit and spin. Today, I'm not sure if I'm actually going to do any spinning today. I might just be trying to work out what I'm going to do for my next project and have a little chat about that. Now, last time before I jump into that, I should probably tell you where you can find me. So on the internet, you can find me on Ravelry as Bishopstone. And I've also got a group I've started up there called Bishopstone Yarns Podcast. So for those people who are on Ravelry, come on over, say hello, make a comment. The group's there for anyone who wants to have a talk about anything to do with the podcast or crafting or life or anything like that. You can find me on Facebook as Bishopstone Yarns. And the best way to do that is go straight from your Facebook page and search me. Don't kind of Google search me, because the Bishopstone Yarns that comes up on Facebook on Google is not me. And the other place you can find me is Instagram, and you can find me as Bishopstone Yarns on Instagram as well. I do also have a blog, which I don't really spend as much time doing anymore. I do put the episodes up on the blog, and occasionally kind of I might just pop a bit of extra, so a few photos and bits and pieces up there. But that's something that I used to do quite a bit, but haven't been doing much in the last couple of years. So that's where you can find me, all around the place. Now, getting back to the spinning. So last time I was here and spinning, I had been spinning up some silk, 100% silk, and then I had plied some of that 100% silk with alpaca, and then the other, then I had kind of half a bobbin left over that then I plied half a bobbin up with merino. So I've got those two finished yarns here. So this is the first one. This was the silk and merino. So the silk is the purpley coloured yarn, and the white is, this is the silk and alpaca. So the white is the alpaca and the coloured yarn is the silk. So that was the first one I did. So this is really nice and light and fluffy, really, really nice and soft. And then the second half of my spinning was the leftover part of the bobbin, and I had some beautiful kind of like a lavender shade of merino tops, which I plied this one with. Now, love the colour, absolutely love the colour and the feel of this one, but two major things. Got to remember that this one was with alpaca and this one was plied with merino. If I hold them both together, you can see quite a big difference also in the yarn, in the ply, and in the finished yarn. So I think, where will I start? This one I had spun all of it. I'd spun the singles and I had plied this one on my Major Craft Rose, which is my main wheel, which I use for most things. I'm really happy with how this, how the singles spun up and how it plied up. I'm used to this wheel. I use it a lot, and it's my go-to wheel. So I was really happy with how this yarn turned out, and plus it's alpaca as well, so it is a little bit lighter and airier, and just a really lovely yarn. This one I actually, well, the silk was spun up, the silk singles was spun up on my Major Craft Rose, and the merino was also spun up as singles on my Major Craft. But then I decided to ply these together last episode on my Hanson e-spinner. The Hanson e-spinner I've only had for a bit over a year. It used to be my mother's, and now it's been passed on to me, and so I'm still getting used to it. I haven't really used it a lot, but the thing that attracts me about using the e-spinner is that it has such large bobbins, so you can have a really nice large skein on them. But let's see if I can get this too. As you can see, in sections here it is underplied, and so I'm really not happy with that. There could be one of two, well, a couple of things that it could be. Could be that as the bobbin got more wool on it and heavier, I hadn't adjusted the tension on the spinning, or maybe I just hadn't spent enough time plying it before I had let it go into the bobbin. So maybe I was feeding it in a little bit too quickly. But it is something that, especially if I want to keep using the e-spinner to ply, which is what my thought had been, so then I could get bigger skeins. It's something I'm really going to have to be aware of when I'm plying up yarns on the e-spinner, because I don't want to end up with skeins that are underplied, because it's just very disappointing once you've done all that work. And I mean, there are places in here where I don't know how well this will go, if I can show you. It's probably not going to. There are places where it's plied really nicely and evenly, and I'm really happy with it, and other places where it's just obviously underplied. So I don't know if that was more to do with my not paying enough attention to what was happening with the yarn, or the fact that I haven't got the tension quite right on the e-spinner. And it is a very different type of spinning with the e-spinner, because you are just paying attention to your hands. You're not using your feet, so you're not, I'm so used to adjusting the speed of the intake with my feet when I'm just spinning on my Major Craft. It's just something for me to keep in mind when I'm spinning. It's not going to stop me from using this. This is still an absolutely gorgeous yarn. I'll just make sure that whatever I use this for is something that's not going to be under a great deal of pressure, so that it's not going to be something that's going to be held really tight. I mean, I had originally thought that these would be quite nice for a shawl. I could still do that. I could still make a shawl out of these. But yes, but I can see it is something that I really have to be aware of, because it's here's this brown here is something as well that I have applied, as you can see, from the nice large skein. put it over to the side so you can see me, is that this one also is a little bit underplied. So I have done this on the e-spinner as well, and I had the same kind of issue. So it would be a shame not to use the e-spinner. I just need to get a little bit better at how I'm going to be using it. Now I'm going to put this skein back down, but I'm going to talk a bit more about it in a minute. So the other thing I was talking about in the last spinning podcast was that I had decided that I would like to make the Birkin by Caitlin Hunter. So for those people who aren't familiar with it, I'll show you. This is the jumper. Oh, move it over to the side so you can see me at the same time. So I love a yoked jumper, and I think they look really lovely in hand spun. And so I had thought that this was on my list of things that I wanted to make, and I thought this would be a great project to use my hand spun for. I really like the look of the white with the coloured yoke, and there is another option which I've got here, which is more of a two colour, so you're using a dark for the base and then just one colour for the top, whereas in this one you're using multiple different colours in the top and the lighter body. So this is the one that I had in mind that I would like to make, but I have been thinking about that. I was explaining last time that I have I've got an alpaca fleece, and I have a Morat fleece. I do also have some white fleeces as well, and I was trying to decide which ones that I was going to use or what combination. So I think I'd like to do an alpaca and wool mix and spin that up. So here, this is the staple from the alpaca. Where are we? Over to the side. And so it's a really nice length. It's fairly clean fleece, so hopefully I won't have to do too much work to it. It's just a little bit of colour on the ends. But so that's the alpaca. Then the Morat fleece that I have, actually I have a couple of Morat fleeces, but this is the lightest one. Where will we go? Go over here. Maybe hold it here. So this is the Morat fleece. So that's quite a nice staple as well, staple length. And then I do have just a little bit of this white, which is already a white fleece, which has already been cleaned. This is a really, really fine, bit hard to show you. Ooh, where are we? It's a little bit hard to show, but it's a very fine fleece. I think it might be a fin. I haven't got a label on it. I don't have a great deal of it, but I thought I might just have a little play around with this one. I do have some more white fleeces in my shed, which I haven't got down yet, but so I thought I could put the white with the white and then dye the yarn up for the colours in the Birkin, in the yoked part of the Birkin, or I could add the brown and the white together and then dye that up as well. The only thing I was thinking about was that if I do decide to go ahead with the brown, the Morat and the alpaca, then I think I would have to go for something a little bit along these lines, because it's going to end up with a darker base. So even when I first start to dye it, it's going to be a darker colour. I'm not going to end up with or be able to have the lighter base. So it's a bit of a, I don't know, bit of a decision to make. I thought that what I might end up doing is having a go at doing some hand carding and just having a little play around with adding some of these together and seeing what colour I come out with, which is where it comes back to this skein here. So this colour is from, let me put it over this way, from a Morit fleece that I already had. So I think I've used about 3/4 of that fleece. But this is already quite a dark base. So anything that I was to over dye this with is going to give me quite a dark kind of base. I could do like I was thinking either a blue or a green kind of over dye on this, but then it's still going to be quite dark. So I'm kind of tossing up whether or not I want to have the dark kind of base for the jumper and the lighter part for the top. I mean, let's say I've got some other, I mean, I do have some hand spun that here. I could always add, say, a pink for the yoke. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, or I could just knit 2 of the Birkin, and one with a dark base and one with a light base. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think my next thing to do is to card up a little bit of these fleeces that I have here, and then maybe go and try and make a decision from there. Now, I have looked at the pattern, and I'm just going to look down here to see what I've written. So there are, well, there's one main colour. If I go for the lighter one, if I go for this, so there's the lighter colour, and then there are 4 main colours in the yoke. So they have a green, a pink, a yellow, and a blue in the yoke. And for the size that I was hoping to do, I think I came out with maybe size 4. So I would need, with my skeins that I usually do if I spin everything up on the Major Craft, my skeins usually end up being about 250 meters. And that means I would need about 5 skeins in the white, and then I would just, I won't need a whole skein, but like in each colour. So I would do a skein of green, a skein of pink, a skein of yellow, and a skein of blue. So, and the other thing I was thinking about that was that even if I did go with the brown, if I thought this was light enough in here to use the Morit with the alpaca and then use a colour, I still don't think I would use the Morit as a base for the colours, because the colours that I would like kind of slightly subtler colours, a little bit more along this kind of line. And if I had the brown kind of Morit colour underneath, it would make it too dark. Yeah. So I can see I'm going to have to be doing a lot of experimenting here. So I thought, I do have my hand carders here, which have been also these are second-hand ones, which were originally owned by someone else who's got their name on them, and then they had put a left and a right. I know there are some people who, when they use their carders, they always have they will always hold one carder in one hand, and that will always be their left, and this one will always be their right. I'm not that kind of person, and these are not the type of carders that, sometimes you can get carders that are a slightly different shape. Where are we going? But these ones are not. These are the same, so they're quite interchangeable in terms of you can card, so you could card quite easily and then swap them over if you wanted to. But and as you can see, these still have a little bit of Angora on there from the last time I used these. So I think that will be my next step. I was going to sit here and have a chat to you while I did some carding, but it's very noisy. It's kind of, I think it'll make too much noise to be able to chat to you, and it might be quite distracting. So what I might do is I might go off and do a little bit of carding, and I'll take some footage of that, and then I will come back and chat to you a little bit more. Hi, well, I've just finished carding some of the white wool that I had, which I think might be Finn wool. It's very fine, and now I'm just going to start taking it off the carder. I'm going to take it off the small drum first. These are some of the shorter pieces and some of the yarn that has got caught onto the smaller drum. Sorry about the noise of the teeth. So I just take this bit off there. So I can go back and have a look at that a little bit later and see whether I can reuse some of that, or there might be just some small pieces. Now usually I have a similar thing. This is just a DPN, but somewhere around I have a very large one of these that I usually use to lift my fleece off the carder, but of course while I was looking for it I couldn't find it. So I always use something like this and just pull the fleece apart. I know there are some people who will take a pair of scissors and use a pair of scissors to cut along the line and do that, but I like to do this because this, by just pulling it gently apart, you are just separating it where it is already naturally at the end of a staple. So you're not kind of cutting halfway through a staple, and I think it just makes it easier for spinning and for joining and keeping the staple lengths at the same for all the wool. Okay, now all I do is I basically just take this off. And usually it's quite easy just to slip it out of the teeth. And I'll just keep lining. So there's the first bat that has come off the carder. This is, like I said, this is only just the first carding. It's I'm going to put that back through the carder a number of times to try and get it all nicely carded before I think about spinning it or adding anything else to it. Hi, I'm back again now. I've been doing a little bit of carding. So I have carded up 2 bats in the white, this mystery white, which I think is Finn. It's beautiful and soft, but that's only been through the drum carder once. Of course, that'll go through the drum carder a couple more times. And I thought what I might do is add some alpaca to that and put that through drum carder and card that up with alpaca, so I could then spin that up and see how I like the feel of the yarn with having the wool and the alpaca mixed in together, as opposed to doing a single of alpaca and a single of wool and then plying them together. Then I have got my hand carders out, and I decided to do a bit of hand carding. This is the Morit here. This is the colour it is to begin with, and then I ran it once through the hand cards. So this was going through the hand carder once, and then I've carded it a second time, and then I've added some white. So this has just gone through the hand carders once with some white. As you can see, it's not really evenly kind of distributed. And then I've gone back and carded it again. So we're getting a little bit more even with the colour distribution. And I'm actually thinking that I'm kind of quite liking the look of this. I'm thinking that the original colour was going to be too dark as a base if I wanted the lighter Birkin, but I am thinking that just with this amount of white, you see a bit of difference in the colour here, that this might be a good base to have for the main colour for the jumper. I could still dye that and give myself still a light, like maybe a light blue or light green, and then do something for the colours in the yoke. Let me know. Please leave me a comment and what do you think? Do you think I should maybe go with something with a mix of brown and white carded together for the main part of the body, or should I stick with the darker colour and go for a darker body and over dye the brown in a darker colour? I don't know. It's hard to know. I mean, I will try and get this carding done before next podcast. So I would have done the carding and spun, hopefully had time to spin at least some sample skeins up from this and see what I think. And then, so next spinning podcast, which will be in 2 weeks, I could either be spinning this up, or if I've had enough time to spin it up beforehand, we could maybe have a little look at doing a bit of dyeing and see what colours it kind of comes out if I use that as a base. I'm still thinking maybe a blue or a green base for the jumper would be really nice. A very light colour, but still very light. And yeah, don't know. Or leave me a comment and let me know what you think. And yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy with it. I think it's light enough that I could definitely over-dye it and do something with it. Well, I think I've got enough there to keep me going until our next spinning podcast. I hope you've enjoyed joining me for this little bit of crafting, and I hope you've had a good week. I hope you've had a chance to have some crafting, get some relaxation time and enjoy making. If you've liked the podcast, give me the thumbs up and press the like button. And if you're not subscribed, then it'd be great if you could subscribe. That helps me out here on the YouTubes and also helps other people find me. And of course, as always, if there's anything here that you've liked or anything you've been thinking about, I'd love for you to leave me a comment. Let me know what you think, what you're working on. I always love to hear what other people are working on and what they're doing, especially if they're doing a spinning project or some dyeing. It'd be really interesting to see what everyone else is doing. So thank you to all those people who've left me comments and subscribed and give me the like. It's been really, really nice, and it's just been lovely sharing this time with you. I hope your next week you have some time to sit back down and relax and have some quiet making, relaxing time. And I'll be carding away. My next week, I think I'll be working on all this fleece and seeing how far I get and what I decide to do. Like I said, leave me a comment. What do you think? Shall I go with the lighter colour? Stay with the brown? Which one will I over dye? Or should I just go with the white? I could just do the white and dye that. Well, so many things to think about, so many choices. But once again, thank you for watching. I hope you've had enjoyable time. I hope you've had a relaxing time, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.